Let's bring in our panel now. Joining me here on the desk is News Corp columnist Louise Roberts. Great to see you, Louise. And Radio 2CC breakfast host Stephen Senatiempo joins us from Canberra. Let's start with you, Stephen. Looking on at those scenes in Melbourne, what was your feeling? What were you thinking and what were you feeling about the country?
Well, I guess the first feeling is disgust, disgrace, fear for the future. But look, without being flippant about it, it really does highlight a couple of serious problems with our education system. We've got a bunch of kids that clearly can't afford a day off school because they're not learning anything of any value. We've got teachers that are teaching this absolute rubbish. I mean, none of these kids really know what they're talking about. They're getting their information from somewhere, and that's from teachers or parents, which is even more sad, I think. But when you look at the numbers in those crowds, there's clearly a lot of people that have repeated a hell of a number of years at school because they didn't look young enough to be school children, that's for sure. It's just, I mean, you listen to the rhetoric and think, how can you be so ignorant when there is enough information out there available to all of us to know exactly what happened there? And when you carry on with this occupied land stuff, I mean, let's be fair dinkum about this. Palestine was a Roman province that was effectively taken from the Jews thousands of years ago. For some reason, we've got a generation that thinks that all of this started in 1947 and ignores the absolute the real history of the region. And that's just frightening. If that's what we're teaching in our educational institutions, well, we might as well give the game away.
It is frightening, isn't it, Louise? Just the ignorance here. And Stephen quite rightly mentioned schools and parents, but a lot of the mainstream media too, they just spout nonsense.
They do. And also, to your point, the children here are getting it from social media. So their own platforms that they're looking for guidance from, rather than their parents or their teachers or proper news sources like us here, they're getting it from TikTok and Instagram, and the algorithm just keeps serving up more hate and more mistruths. So they go into a situation which is actually unsafe for them. School children to be there when they've got anarchists and professional protesters just waiting for it to all kick off, to throw a Molotov cocktail in there and cause chaos.
Yeah, it's so dangerous on an issue like this that's so divisive. And as you say, social media algorithms just repeat they just reaffirm their erroneous views. That's the way it works. Yeah. Let's have a look at some of the nonsense they were spouting today.
We're high school students and we know the truth. So why doesn't everyone else? Is protecting their investment really worth the thousands and thousands of lives lost?
Honestly, I mean, where to start with that? She thinks she knows it all and wonders why we don't understand it. This young lady needs to do some reading, Stephen, and that sort of leftist nonsense about someone's protecting their investments, somehow to stand up against free people being slaughtered is protecting someone's investments.
I know. I had a talkback caller call me about a week ago suggesting that this was all about the Rothschilds and they bought Israel and it was it was just the typical conspiracy theory rubbish.
Well, anti-Semitic.
It's interesting when you. Yeah, well, absolutely, no two ways about it. But it's interesting, Louise, talking about the social media algorithms. When you think that the two major social media platforms that these kids would be on, I mean, outside of TikTok, but Instagram is owned by a bloke called Zuckerberg. Now, you would hope that the algorithms weren't serving up this kind of rubbish.
Yeah, I think the trouble is though that what they do is give you more of whatever it is you've seen before, right? Whatever you've looked at long enough. So they'll reaffirm that they won't go and find something to give you a diversity of views.
That's right. And the kids in school and arguably in the home as well, Chris, will be learning to sort of work out what is true and what is not and actually get the proper facts on Israel, Palestine, Gaza, etc., rather than thinking, OK, this is the view and I'm just going to keep repeating it because it's kind of exciting to be here at a protest. It's it has no place in Australian society.
If you're a teacher, especially at the moment, if you're a teacher, especially of kids who are in senior school, teenage kids, surely you'd be taking the opportunity to teach a bit of proper history. There's no area in the world where the history goes back so far. It's all documented and you can get into the complexities of the last century or so, but they need to understand, Chris, as Stephen says, it didn't start in 1948, mate.
No, well, that's right. But can I just point out one other thing? What sort of mental health damage are we doing to these kids? By indoctrinating with this kind of rubbish. I mean, what are we setting them up for in the future?
Yeah, well, exactly. And they actually believe because they've been told this, that Israel is a country that's going out to try and slaughter people and create genocide. So that's why the reality, as you say, will not only help them deliver the right message and think about these things in the right way, but it'll take away a horrible damage that it's doing to their mental health. And I do point out for everyone, not any viewer, that I, like you, all worry about innocent Palestinians being caught up in this. But firstly, there's no verifiable information coming out of Gaza on this. The numbers you hear coming out of Gaza, you can just completely disregard. They are all Hamas numbers. And secondly, if you want to protest against Palestinian lives, then the appropriate way is to, yes, get together, sit on the steps of Parliament, have a candlelight vigil or something, call for calm, call for a ceasefire, but don't call for the elimination of Israel.
And how would you
spread
feel if you were
like
a Jewish student in Melbourne today, seeing that? How would you feel? You'd just be absolutely heartbroken and confused, and you've got a right to feel safe and go to school.
Unsafe in your own country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, frightening.
Yeah.